Welcome to the channel. My name is Franco, and today I'll be sharing with you some repair work on the Kubota Mini-Excavator. So the other day I was doing some clearing here with the frost ripper on the machine, and all at once the frost ripper and the thumb looked like they were misaligned. So I stopped the machine and I took a look, and then I realized that the bucket to arm pin was snapped. It snapped right in the middle, and I guess this is a failure point on the machine. It's a very common issue with these Kubota Mini-Excavators that the bucket arm pin will snap right in half. So now that I have a brand new pin, now it's time to take out the old one and replace it with the new. So really quick, I'm going to show you guys the new pin versus the old pin before I start the repair. The old pin severed right in half, right at the grease hole. So grease will come in this side at the grease fitting, down through a drilled hole, and then out this blind hole, and pretty much that's the failure point on this pin. If you were to have a solid pin, this wouldn't be an issue. You would have to just come up with a different way to get grease to the bushings and to the pin. This thing split right exactly in half. As you can see here, this is what it looks like when it's brand new. So the new pin has the same exact features. You have a blind hole that's chamfered that also intersects with this other blind hole that has the grease fitting on it. This through hole here is for the roll pin when it attaches to the coupler. I also will be replacing the Sirt clips on each end of the pin. So as you look at this pin, you can see the wear spots and what's going on. There's a huge wear mark in this pin on either side here, and then these two spots here are untouched. They basically almost look brand new. But right here is where the thumb will rotate on, and right here is where the arm rotates on the coupler. So having this grease fitting at the end of the pin is a very clever design, but the problem is it takes a very heavy-duty pin and turns it into a much weaker pin. So there's evidence of case hardening on the new pin, but if these holes weren't plugged up, that could be a problem, because now you've hardened the inside of the holes and hardened the inside of this grease hole, and basically have made this thing a brittle pin that will break in these two spots. So the first step is going to be removing this roll pin that goes from the coupler through the pin. This is it on the other side. It's coming out. So this little dimple mark on the end of the pin is very important for the orientation of the grease hole. So we have the dimple pointing at about 5 o'clock. So the first thing I want to do is make sure there's no debris or rocks or sand or any metal shavings stuck in these bushings before I go ahead and slide the other pin in. So I'm just going to stick my finger in there and make sure there's nothing that's going to be a problem. I just want to get all the dirt, debris, anything that may score the inside of the bushings or cause premature wear. Alright, so I don't feel anything in there. All I feel is grease, and that's a good thing. So what I'm trying to do is just to center up the O-rings and center up the shims. That way, when I go to slide in the pin, they're not going to interfere with me sliding it in smoothly. So I'm just rotating this punch until I feel everything is set right on center, and it's not going to give me an issue. Alright, so that looks good. Check out this mud that's right below my feet. It really doesn't help while trying to maneuver around this thing. So with the dimple orientation right at 5 o'clock, it pretty much puts the grease hole pointing towards the cab. So now I'm just going to slide this in gently. So the first thing I'm hitting is this coupler. There we go. I'm gonna move the thumb down just a little bit. Alright, so I got it started. Give it a wiggle until everything lines up. So as I'm inserting this pin, I'm holding up on this side, that way I'm keeping alignment of the coupler and everything. It's coming through. There's the pin on the other side. Alright, so our dimple is at 5 o'clock. That's good. That's a really good sign. That means we don't have to rotate it. And we're almost there. So now it's a matter of lining up the roll pin hole here with the coupler. Alright, so it looks like it's going to come down a little bit. Where's that punch? There it is. Alright, so it's just about perfect. So by using the pipe wrench carefully with a rag on the end of it, I was able to rotate the pin ever so slightly so the cross holes in the pin and the coupler line up. That way it can now feed in the roll pin back in. So now the roll pin is inserted and it's totally recessed in the coupler, and we are pretty much almost done here. The only thing left to do is to clean up this with a file, make sure there's no sharp edges on it. So because I did use a pipe wrench on the end of this just to rotate it just a little bit, I want to go ahead and hit this with a file to break any sharp corners that I generated from using the jaws on the pipe wrench. So the last step is going to be inserting the Sirt clips that go in either side of the pin. And we are completely done. All I have to do now is grease up this new pin and joint, and I'll be all set. So because I used a hammer on the face of this pin, it actually did mushroom over some material inside the counterbore of this pin. So I'm just going to go ahead with a file and clean this up. So I got sick and tired of using the file, so I decided to unscrew the grease fitting, and now I'm going to use a burr at the end of a drill. Alright, so that looks pretty damn good now. It's all cleaned up. Now the counterbore is totally concentric with the threaded hole for the grease fitting. I should not have any issues now inserting the grease coupler on the grease gun. So now that the grease fitting is now installed, the last and final step will be to apply grease to the fitting. I'm watching to see if grease pops out of these seams. Once I see grease coming out, then I'm done. There we go. Well guys, I'm finally finished greasing up the new pin, and I'm really happy that the machine is back in service. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and do so. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.